Listen, Genesis 16. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, had borne him no child, no children. And she had an Egyptian maidservant, whose name was Hagar. So Sarai said to Abram, "See now, the Lord has restrained me from bearing children. Please go unto my maid. Perhaps I shall obtain children by her." And Abram heeded the voice of Sarah. Then Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, and gave her to her husband Abram to be his wife. After Abram had dwelled 10 years in the land of Canaan, so he went into Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress became despised in her eyes. Then Sarai said to Abram, "My wrong be upon you. I gave my maid into your embrace, and when she saw that she had conceived, I became despised in her eyes. The Lord judge between you and me." So Abram said to Sarai, "Indeed, your maid is in your hand. Do to her as you please." And when Sarai dealt harshly with her, she fled from her presence. Now the angel of the Lord found her by a spring in the wilderness, by the spring on the way to Shur. And he said, "Hagar, Sarah's maid, where have you come from, and where are you going?" And she said, "I am fleeing from the presence of my mistress Sarai." So the angel of the Lord said to her, "Return to your mistress, and submit yourself unto her hand." Then the angel of the Lord said to her, "I will multiply your descendants exceedingly, so that you shall not be counted for multitude." And the angel of the Lord said to her, "Behold, you are with child, and you shall bear a son. You shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord has heard your affliction. He shall be a wild man. His hand shall be against every man, and every man hand against him. And he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren." Then she called to the name of the Lord who spoke to her, "You are the God who sees." For she said, "Have I also here seen him who sees me?" Therefore the well was called Bir Lahai-Roi. Observe, it is between Kadesh and Bered. So Hagar bore Abram a son, and Abram named his son, whom Hagar bore, Ishmael. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore Ishmael to Abram. Hagar clearly was Egyptian. And this is the point where Abram had now been in the land of Canaan, the Black Lands, for about 10 years now, a decade. And see, part of the trick here is is that Hagar is a bondservant. She's enslaved. She's Egyptian. She's a Hamite, a Chemite. And so this is overlooked. She is a woman of color from the Black lands. And once he conceives a child with this Hamite, this Kemetic woman, he becomes Abraham. See, the bloodline of the Hamites and the Shemites have been mixed into the child Ishmael. Therefore, there is an inheritance. Inheritance. And this is the reason why. This is the point in which the Abrahamic religion begin to be seeded or spawned in the Black lands. In reality, you can Google Maps this region and you will see right along the man-made river called the Suez Canal. In its center is a city named Ishmael. And this is a marker from where Africa has been cut off from the Asian continent. The only land mass where the human and its herd could walk in and out of the continent of Africa. The gateway in and out of the resources of Africa by foot, by natural means, has been cut off. This is the serpent, dividing Africa from the underworld. See, from the Nubian mind, upper is closest to home. Lower is further away. So the place where we call Cairo, Egypt, today, it is given its name as Lower Egypt. And then the Upper Egypt is in the area where we would probably say Luxor or Aswan. This landmass, the origins of these people, this is where the temples, this is where you see all the inscriptions and the artwork, the paintings. You don't see it in Cairo when you go. The way history is told, these things are confused together to give you the illusion that the hieroglyphs and the artworks and artifacts and the temples are all near Cairo, near the pyramids. But the pyramids are not decorated with art. These structures are, to this day, a world wonder, attracting people from every nation around the world. So these are, in reality, the towers of Babel. Because when you are there, that's what you hear. The languages of all the nations being translated in Arabic. And you are baffled by how astounding the earthwork is. And how it was built within such a small amount of time. These structures, these towers, are built in alignment with the heavens, consisting the geography and the geometry of the earth. And they are directed towards Series A and Series B, the bright and morning star. Egypt is the root of civilization, and we are the offspring of the union between the root and the seeds of David. Abram's name changed Abraham. Isaac bore Jacob, and Jacob became Israel. And this lineage has two offspring, two different trees, which were mothers. Hagar being the first, bearing the firstborn, who isn't recognized as the first, because he is born from the black woman, the servant, the slave. She was forced to give up her body at her master's will to bear a seed, to bear a child against her own free will. She could not give more than what she had, which is her body. And she did not have control over that. That was not her choice. So, who enslaved who? You must ask yourself. We were made to believe based off of how the narrative is told in Hollywood and out of the foundations of slavery and captivity. Where we were kept blind, ignorant, like Adam, from the fruits of knowledge. Because the fruits of knowledge is power when applied. Because knowledge makes man unfit to be a slave. Knowledge makes one unfit to be a slave because knowledge makes one like gods, knowing the good and the evils of this world, of our lords, our masters, and our gods. Because the sun rises and the sun sets. And this is the reason why Adam's third son, the only son recognized, was Set, the lord of the redlands, the underworld. But we are reading about here in the Bible is the conquest of the black lands through seed and spells, through encaptured. And my job is to give the Nubian perspective.